Yo, what is up? So in this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to work on some modeling, and we're going to make this great sword model right here. So we're going to model this guy in Blender, and then we're going to take it over to Substance Painter and give it a pretty just standard little great sword material. So yeah, let's hop into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to delete these old models, and I'm going to press Alt H on my keyboard, and you'll see I have this reference that we will be using. So if you want this reference, I'll drop a link in the description so you can download this reference and you'll have the same reference that I have. So the first part that I'm going to start with here is the actual blade. It's kind of the biggest piece and kind of the most challenging as far as making it look clean. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up here to add, I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to add a cube. And then I'm going to press S on my keyboard and click to scale this guy down. And I'm just going to kind of try to move this guy in place. So a lot of people, your settings here might be on select box or one of these other ones. So I typically like to use this move gizmo thing right here, so you get the little gizmos, so I can just kind of shift things into place. So that's what I'm going to do here. You can press 1 on your keyboard to go to the front face. You can go into X-ray mode if you click this button up here, and you can kind of see where your cube is. So we'll put this guy right about there. I'll go out of X-ray mode. Now if you press tab on your keyboard, you'll go into edit mode, and I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna choose face select, and I'm gonna choose this bottom face right here. I'm gonna press 1 on the keyboard, and I'm just gonna drag this guy way down, and you'll see once you get down here it'll start to kind of curve. I'm gonna go to about right here. I'm gonna go back into edit mode, so press tab, or we're already in edit mode, but if you go in go to edge select right here, I'm going to choose this edge right here, and instead of doing this on both sides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to use the symmetry right here. So if you press X right here, anything you do on this side, it'll mirror to the other side. So I'm just going to kind of press 1 and then go into X-ray mode right here and pull this guy in like that, and you'll see it curves in to the shape of the sword. And now I'm going to go back out of X-ray mode. I'm going to choose the face option up here, and I'm going to click 1, and I'm just going to pull this guy down even more, all the way down to the bottom here of where the sword is. And then I'm going to go to edge select mode and then go back into X-ray mode here. I'm going to choose this edge over here, and I'm just going to pull this guy in way in like that. And obviously oh, actually we'll go back here. So something we messed up on here, we just pulled this guy down. We actually want to extrude here, so if you press E on your keyboard and pull this guy down, you'll see we get a loop cut here, and we just extruded out from here. So we're just gonna pull this guy down because we want the loop cut here, so that what we previously did kind of stays in place. So I'm gonna go to edge select here. I'm gonna choose this edge here and go into front face and just pull this guy in. Go into X-ray mode to kind of see where we are. Pull this guy into probably about there, and go back out of X-ray mode, and you'll see that this part obviously needs to curve a little bit more. And something else we're gonna do just to make this not so boxy, so we're gonna click on this guy, and I'm gonna go over here to the modifiers. So this little screw thing right here, wrench, I'm gonna go to generate, and I'm gonna choose subdivision surface. And you'll see if we hide the background real quick, you'll see that kind of rounds some things off. And for now, I'm gonna change the level viewport up to 2. We might drop this back down, but For now, I'm just gonna move that up, and I'm going to right click on this guy. I'm gonna choose shade smooth, and obviously this doesn't look anything like what we need, but it will. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna select this guy. I'm gonna go into edit mode, press 1 to go into front facing, and I'm gonna click Control R, and you'll see we get that edge loop in the middle, and I'm gonna select that guy and just pull it up to the top, and we'll get kind of like a supporting edge loop up here at the top. And you can do that again, and it'll kind of reinforce it a little bit more as well. It'll really sharpen up what is going on up at top. And what we'll do here is we'll hide this picture here, and I'm gonna Control R in the middle on the side right here on this axis, just to kind of get it. We'll need this for our sharp end, so like the blade, the sharp part of the blade. And something I'm gonna do here is I'm also gonna add some loops in the middle. So if you Control R down the middle here, I'm gonna add 4 loops right here. And you'll see we're getting something much closer to what we need for our shape. So the next part I'm gonna do is thin this part out, because it's, you know, the sharp edge doesn't need to be square. So on edge mode, if you press Alt and click, you'll get everything on this edge right here. So we should still have our x-axis symmetrized, so we're going to choose Y as well. Then we're just going to pull this guy in. We're going to sharpen this edge up right in there. And Alt select this guy as well. That's going to select both sides. So actually, let's just click this guy, and then we'll Control click or Shift click all the way up to the top right here. And we'll also pull this guy in. And something else we can do. So this middle section right here, on the very end, we can sharpen our edge a little bit more by selecting this whole midsection and just pulling it out a little bit, just to sharpen that edge a little bit. We can Alt click if we want to make that, pull this guy in. You can sharpen that edge a lot more, so it actually starts to look pretty sharp there. And now for this final face, I'm just gonna select I'm gonna go into face mode here, and I'm gonna select everything down this middle section. So select the whole midsection there, and I'm just gonna pull this whole section in, something about like that. And you'll see it's starting to look a lot more like a blade, but we got some weird stuff kind of going on down here at the bottom. And the reason for that is that really this bottom piece probably needs to come in more than what is going on, you know, up here, so that it gets thinner down towards the end here. And it looks like we got, so we'll select this edge and we'll go into vertex mode, and we'll also select this vertex right here and just pull all of this in, probably about right there. And then we'll just select these last two, these middle two right here, and pull these in to about right there probably. And you'll see it gets a lot sharper down at the end. And something else we could do here is we could select all of these middle vertices and just kind of pull them down to get kind of that sharp look. And then we can grab these edge ones, or these middle ones right here, and pull these down as well. Then we'll grab these next two and pull these guys down as well. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. And you can see this looks a lot more like a blade, but if you pull up the reference here, there are some details. So like this middle section kind of goes in, then down towards the bottom, it kind of sharpens up right here at the end. Cool. And just another note on where you want to place your reference image. I tend to place it right on the handle, so that way any swords or anything that we'll make in the future will kind of do the same kind of thing. So that way it has the same pivots when we bring it into Unreal Engine or any engine or anything. It'll kind of set the pivot to exactly where the handle is. But yeah, so now if we press Alt H and unhide our blade here, we can go into front facing mode, click 1, and then we'll go into X-ray mode, and we'll go into edit mode. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to face mode, and I'm going to select all, if it'll let me go back out of X-ray mode. We're going to select all, everything down to, yeah, probably about there is good. We'll probably have to tweak some things down here, but we're just gonna pull this guy in, something like that maybe. And you'll see we kind of get that middle thing that we're looking for, but ours is, if you go into X-ray mode, ours is way more wide than what's in the reference image. So I'm just gonna go into edge mode, and I'm gonna select all of these edges here. Or actually, I'm gonna deselect that edge, and we'll just pull this guy in, and that'll kind of sharpen up and shrink that mid section that we need. And right now you can also see right here, this guy, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a support loop down here at the bottom. So Control R, click and drag this guy way down to the bottom, close to our end here. And then we'll go into X-ray mode. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a loop cut directly in the middle. So Control R, we're gonna add a loop cut right in there, and that'll even sharpen the edges a little bit more. But now what we want to do is change what we're doing down here at the bottom. So I'm gonna go into vertice mode, and I'm just gonna pull everything. So this guy and this bottom vertice that's in the middle, I'm just gonna pull this stuff out until we get kind of like that sharp look that we got in the reference. And you probably don't want the bottom one out quite as far as that top one there. So we'll pull this guy back in, and we'll get something a lot closer. But you can see right in here it starts to do some weird things. So I'm just gonna kind of pull these side edges, these side vertices that are in between the indentation here. Just gonna kind of pull this stuff up or forward a bit to kind of smooth that transition from this to this little sharp piece here. And you could, let's try another support loop right here. And you can make that an even harsher cutoff, but you'll kind of start to get a little bit of a line there. But you could grab this guy and pull this guy back a bit, kind of smoothing some of that transition a little bit. And let's see. We could pull, I'm gonna pull all of these in a little bit right in here. Then I'm gonna pull this guy back just a little bit, just to kind of smooth out some of that area. And let's pull the support loop down a bit. just to kind of get rid of that line that was in there. Yeah, that looks a lot cleaner. And if you wanted to, you could probably pull this one up a little bit to kind of smooth it a little bit as well. And we could add a little bit more of a curve in here. So I'm going to add a loop cut right in here. Control R and click. And I'm just going to choose all of these side vertices right in here. And I'm just going to pull it out. Get a little bit more of a curve going on in there. Then we could do another one right in here. Control R and click. And then select all of these side vertices here. Press 1 to go into front facing. And then just pull this guy out a bit. And I'd say that's looking pretty close to our reference here. So if we just hide this guy, pretty close to what we're looking for there. We could sharpen this guy a little bit at the end. So how we would do that is just kind of pull these vertices in down here. Just pull this guy way in. We got a middle one in here I didn't see, so we'll pull both of those in. And you'll see that will sharpen that up quite a bit. And you can kind of control how much of that pops with where you place these. So just kind of find a place that looks right. And I'm going to go down here to the bottom. And I'm just going to smooth out a little bit of what is going on down here. So I'm going to pull this edge down a little bit, and this edge. And it looks like maybe these two need to come up a bit. And maybe back out a little bit. Same with this guy. We'll pull this guy out a little bit. Same with this guy. Pull it out a little bit. Until we get something that's kind of close to what we're looking for. You could also pull this guy back a little bit. Just to round it off a little bit. Pull this guy back. You can pull this guy back and then pull this guy over. Just to kind of smooth out what is going on at the end. Let's hide our background. And we also have, yeah, we got a vertice right here in the middle. So we can pull this guy down and pull this guy over a bit. And then we'll pull this guy right here back a little bit. Kind of sharpen up the end a little bit again. And that's pretty good. So something you could do is, if I go into edit mode here, so I moved some vertices here that I wasn't sure if I did to the other side. So if you press A, you can do a select all. And we're going to go into the mesh tab here, go into symmetrize. And initially that's just going to symmetrize negative X to X, which we'll let it do that. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and symmetrize the X axis. But we're going to symmetrize the Y axis because I'm not 100% sure that I moved all of those accurately. So I'm going to go to negative Y to Y. And yeah, that should just symmetrize everything. And you can see we did get something different here. So let me actually undo that. I'm going to undo that guy. And let's try a symmetrize on the... Let's try Y to negative Y. Yeah. And let's try that X again as well, because I think that might have caused whatever was going on there. So symmetrize X to negative X. Yeah, X to negative X is causing some weird issues here, probably because of how close some of our vertices are in there. So I'm actually not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to undo anything with that. And cool. So I'm actually going to pull these guys out just a little bit to soften up some of that sharpness in there a little bit. Same up here. I'm going to pull them out a little bit. And I think that's pretty decent for a blade for now. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and save this. So if we Alt-H and pull up our reference here. So the next thing we need is this part right here. This is probably going to be the next most complicated piece, just because of the way these round pieces are connected to this kind of like rectangular kind of shape going on here. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to go up here to the add. I'm going to add a cube, and I'm going to scale this guy down. And something to be aware of when you're scaling like this is if you come over here and look at your scale, you'll see all of this is at 0.035. So typically when you scale like this, you want to click Control A and apply all transforms, and then it'll reset all of this back to 1. This is pretty important, especially with like some modifiers, that it can affect some modifiers, the way they work. It can affect the way that your UVs unwrap and stuff sometimes. So typically you want to apply your transforms when you make, you know, big scale changes like this. So yeah, we're gonna apply transforms on this guy as well. And you'll see when we did that, because this was at a negative value, we applied transforms. So if you come up here and click on this guy, you'll see I have this face orientation thing checked, and that's why this turned red, because what happened is when we applied that transform is it flipped our normals inside out. So if we go into edit mode and select everything with clicking A, we can go up here into mesh and go into normals, and we can recalculate outside, and that'll flip our normals to be back into the appropriate place. So we go into 1 right here. I'm going to go into edit mode and scale down. And something to note as well, if you're in edit mode and you're scaling, this won't affect your scale over here. But if you're not in edit mode and you do that, it will change your scale over here, and then you have to apply transforms. So we're going to go into edit mode for the rest of our scaling and stuff. So I'm going to go into face mode. I'm going to click on the top here, and I'm just going to go into X-ray mode and kind of pull this down into place. And something else we can do real quick, just so you're aware of how this kind of works. I'm going to go out of edit mode. I'm going to go into edit mode and select everything. And there's this little magnet thing up here. This is for snapping. And if you go up here and you choose edge select, you can pull this guy around, and you can snap this guy directly to the edge of this model. And we'll turn that guy back off. And we'll unhide everything, and we'll go back into edit mode. I'm going to select this side over here, and I'm just going to pull this guy all the way right to about where this round piece starts. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into our modifiers again. I'm going to add a modifier. First one is going to be let's do a subdivision surface. We're also going to add let's add a mirror here. So mirror on the x-axis, and I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to grab this edge here. I'm going to pull it all the way back before it actually, where it should intersect here. And then I'm going to choose clipping on mirror. So let's actually put this mirror above the subdivision, so that it so they'll connect. So the order of your generators or your modifiers here, they matter. They can affect how things work. So we're going to put that mirror above the subdivision, and these two will connect. And something to be aware of when you're using the mirror modifier and you're connecting pieces like this is you're still going to have these middle faces. So typically you're going to want to delete these inside faces, because you don't need those. You'll get some weird artifacts and stuff when texturing, and just in general you'll get some weird artifacts if you leave those inside faces in there. So now what we're going to do is we got our piece down here at the end. I'm going to go into edge mode, and I'm just going to pull this guy down to about where it should be, right there. And we'll go ahead and grab this edge as well and pull this guy Just kind of pull this guy in like that. And now I'm gonna go into face mode. I'm gonna select this end face right here, and I'm just gonna E to extrude and just pull all the way to the end to about where it should be. Then I'm gonna press Control R to add a loop cut in here, and I'm just gonna press S on my keyboard and pull out. Scale this guy up to about right there, and you'll see we start to kind of get like a round thing going on, but I'm gonna hide this background. Obviously ours is a little bit more rectangular at the moment, so we're gonna do some things to kind of make this a little more rounded. So I'm gonna select all of these ends right here, pull them in. I'm gonna select this edge specifically, and make sure we're on a new mesh now, so none of our symmetry stuff is there anymore. So make sure you turn on the Y symmetry here and just pull, and we'll have to symmetrize that. We probably made some edit. Yeah, so select everything with Control A or with A, and we're gonna go into mesh. We're gonna go into symmetrize. We're gonna symmetrize Y to negative Y, like that, and that already gets us to a way closer shape to what we're looking for. And we could pull this edge. Make sure you have the symmetry on. I'm gonna pull this guy back, make this a little bit more squared at the end, and I could even turn this subdivision up a notch and get a better look at what's going on. And cool. So I'm gonna pull the background back up. I'm gonna look at the X-ray mode to kind of see what's going on here. So we definitely need a support loop coming into the back here. So you press Control R, click, and pull this guy in, and you'll see it'll sharpen up this edge a lot more for what we're looking for. And what we need now is, this is still kind of like an oval shape, so I'm gonna go into vertice mode. I'm gonna click on this guy back here, and I'm just gonna kind of pull. I'm actually gonna select both of these, and I'm just gonna kind of pull these in until we get something a little bit more round. And I'll click on these guys as well. Click on both of these, or this one right here. And I'm just gonna pull all of this stuff up to kind of round it off a bit. Just pull these guys out to get a little bit more of a round shape. And something else we're gonna do here is, if you look at the reference, these edges are a little bit more sharp than what we have. So I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna go into edit mode, and I'm gonna Control R to add a loop cut and bring this guy up quite a bit, get a supporting loop. I'm gonna do that again and pull that guy down. And yeah, you'll see these edges get sharper, but this kind of messes with the shape that we were working on down here. So we'll need to tweak some more things down here to make it a little bit more of a round shape. So just kind of pull these guys around just to kind of round things off. And we could pull these guys back. And you'll see that already kind of rounds off a bit of that. And we could pull these two vertices out a little bit so it's not so flat in the middle there. And we're still kind of getting like a bit of a square thing going on up here, so we'll tweak some of that. We'll pull this guy down, pull this guy up, maybe pull these in a bit, and we can just scale those down a bit. And that's looking a lot more round, a lot closer to what we're looking for. But some of this could probably come out. So if you go in X-ray mode, if you can't see them, we got some of these middle vertices in here that we could probably pull out. Yeah, like that. Round that piece out a bit. And that's looking pretty good. You know, you can just tweak it however much you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna alt select this edge down here. I'm just gonna see about potentially making this a bit sharper right there. And we'll try another support and see. Yeah, we don't need that second support. This should be fine right there. And now we look at our reference, go in X-ray mode, and you can see right in here, we're not quite getting this curve going on that's in our reference. So we'll edit, and we'll just add a loop right in there. And I'm going to select all of these top vertices here. I'm just going to pull this guy down. I'm going to select all these bottom vertices here. I'm going to pull this guy up a bit. And we can add another loop right in here. I'm going to select all these top ones. And might not be a bad idea to select these side ones as well and pull it down a bit. And you can see right here, we're kind of overlapping here. So select both of these bottom ones and pull it down so we're not overlapping those there. Which looks like we pulled the opposite way. So we'll grab all of these bottom ones, we'll select these side ones, and we'll go into front face mode and just pull this guy up a bit. And if you wanted to, you could probably add another little support loop right here to tighten up this right here. And cool. So we'll look back at our reference here. Look at this. We're getting a lot more of that curve that we were looking for. But our ball here at the end is a little bit bigger than the reference. So we're just going to select all of this. I'm just going to scale it down. Press S on your keyboard to scale it and just drag that in. And now some of this edge right on the outside can probably come up a bit. So just scale this guy up. And it's looking a lot closer. And some of this isn't, perfect, but, it doesn't have to be perfect. I would say this is good enough for me. So, go back into X-ray mode, out of X-ray mode, and you'll see this is kind of the two hardest pieces done. So, the rest of it should be pretty easy. I'm just going to do a save here. I'm going to Alt-H to go back out. And this guy right here, gonna be stupid easy. All we need for this is we're gonna go into add up here, and we're gonna add a cylinder. So it's basically already the shape we need. So we're just gonna scale this guy down. Scale it way, way down. I'm just gonna pull this down into place. And because we scaled down, we need to apply our transform. So click Control A and all transforms. And now that'll fix that over there. So now I'm going to go into edit mode, go into X-ray mode, and go into front facing mode. And we're already at about where we want, so I'm going to go ahead and go into face mode, face edit, and select that top face. And I'm just going to pull this guy down to about where we need, right about there. And then I'm going to choose this bottom face here. And pull this guy up to where we need, right about there. And go back out of edit mode, and we go and look at this not in X-ray. So you'll see we get all these weird like edges on this. So we're just gonna right click on this and shade smooth. And that smooths the edges, but you'll also notice that it kind of looks weird. Like it has these weird like black like spots on it. And the reason that is because of the way the normals work. So we have completely hard edges right here on a cylinder, and that affects the